but I knew I was supposed to be doing this, and I just fell into it. Like I said, when I told my fiance, I said I gotta go, and she said, well, I gotta go. Bye. Then the job, I quit. All the little hustle jobs and all through the years, I got fired from all of them because I would not show up because of the business. My parents were like, oh my God. And when I finally got in the show, that they didn't totally disown me, but they just were like really disappointed in me. And I was living on my own, and I was struggling and starving, and they came to see me in a show. And that's when my parents said, wow, you are good. And it was really funny how it was on a Sunday, and all of these people came up to me and literally pushed my parents back because they were all over me. And my mama said, you coming by for dinner, right? I said, yeah, of course. Sunday dinner? I said, yeah. So I went by. It was a matinee show that Sunday, only one show. And when I got there, my mother was like, I believe you. My daddy said, yeah. And I used to complain to him all the time about the business in Detroit. I'm not getting the audition. I'm not getting this. I'm not getting that. I hate this job. I just got stabbed. He says, why don't you leave? Why don't you go to New York, or why don't you go to California? That's where your stuff is. He said, they doing a lot in Chicago at that point. He said, why don't you go to one of those places? Stop complaining and leave. And I'm like, I left. And I went to Chicago first, and I had a lot of relatives there, and I stayed with a couple of my relatives, and then I met the girl that thought I was gonna marry, the other one. And I stayed, my whole thing was to stay in Chicago long enough. I had already got my SAG card. I wanted to get one commercial. They were shooting a lot of TV shows at that point, because Chicago was hot, really hot at that point. And I said, okay, I want to get one TV show, one commercial, and then I'm gonna go to California. I ended up staying there almost 15 years, and I did a ton of shows, 30, 40 commercials, all kind of stuff. And what made me leave Chicago, and I was ready, I'm like, I don't know, should I leave or what? I went into my agency one day, and they were doing a voiceover job for Gatorade. And when I came in, the receptionist said, he's here. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. So I had 3 agents in there. They all came out of their office and were standing in the doorway looking like this. They said, the specs for the spot is on the wall, telling you we want this and this, telling you what you have to do for the audition. So I looked at the wall, and it says, we're looking for a Rhomeyn Johnson type. He has to be this, he has to be funny, he has to be clever, spontaneous, he has to have a great sense of humor, which is, me. And I'm like, huh? And they all like, yeah. And I said, oh no. And that's when I said to myself, I said, it's time to go. They're looking for somebody like me. Wow. But they're not talking about me for the job. Because I had been working for those people. I'd done several Gatorade commercials. Gatorade, blah, blah, blah. I mean, radio, all kinds of, I'd done work for them. They had used me to the point where they couldn't use me. They wanted somebody like me, but not me. So it was time to go. And my agents knew it's time to go. So I didn't just abruptly just leave. I said, okay, let me go scout out LA. So I went, and I was traveling back and forth for about a year or so. And finally I came out here in 97 and stayed 11 months. And for tax purposes, my tax man said, well, you got to spend at least 1 month back there to try to claim some stuff. So I went back, and then I stayed there until June of 98. And then I moved, stayed June of 98, and I came out back to Chicago. Then in the following year, in June of 1999, I just completely moved. So I've been here since, it'll be almost 20 years in June.
Oh, uh-huh.
And that was it, And that's when things really got nuts.